Hi everyone. You're sitting at home today because your classes are going to be at home, so you'll have some things to do. Very important. Very important. Your tasks today will have something to do with what we've been discussing the past few classes. But because I won't have many chances to teach you anymore, I would like to leave a message that you may not think is important, but in the international context of the circles of English, you need to get this in your heads once and for all. Okay. No, I'm not drawing a pizza. These are supposed to be pyramids. I think I'm going to go further with this and say that it's even fewer people. Okay. Poverty, and I'm putting it between quotation marks because there's no real poverty here. So let us just say that it's a small percentage of the population that lives in poverty in Norway. And here you have a whole society who lives in the upper middle class and rich society, right? Cars in a garage, and they are able to afford traveling internationally all the time, and they have a nice house, a nice apartment, they have a cabin, all of that. And it's a lot of the population, right? Now, I'm going to speak about the country of Brazil because I'm from there, but this also applies to other countries, the Philippines, Thailand, Bolivia, Argentina, all of those countries that people think, oh, they're shitholes and everybody lives in poverty. That is not true. Most of the population is here, middle class, which means maybe they don't have a car, but they have a house, a roof over their heads, they have clothing, they have everything they need, food, they never go hungry, their kids go to school, everything is all right. And then you have upper middle class people, close to the rich, but not really rich. They have everything that you guys have in Norway, everything, the same level, and in some cases, even more. My husband is Norwegian, and when I met him, my family had a higher social status than his. Both my parents were educated, both my parents had cars in the garage. We had two places at the beach, plus land, plus everything that people here in Norway also have. So it's very important that you understand that just because NRK makes a documentary about Colombia and they only show the poor neighborhoods and everybody like in the streets begging for money and everyone dying of hunger, that's not the whole truth. There are rich people in Colombia. There are upper middle class people living in Colombia too, just like you in Norway. There are people in those countries who have just as good a life as you have, perhaps even better. You don't know, and that's not your fault. It's because when you turn on Enarcoan, they make a documentary about Brazil. What do they show? The slums, people living in poverty, criminality. They never show a neighborhood like my neighborhood. Skyscrapers and beautiful buildings, safe neighborhoods where I could walk around without having to worry about anything. People have cars, they live luxurious, amazing lives. Very important that you know that because I feel like this has come up over the past 3 years quite a few times. The pyramid in Norway is better. Let's just do better like this because we can't ever say one country is better than the other. The pyramid is more comfortable for most of the population because most of the population is in the upper middle class. In Brazil, we have that too, but it's a smaller percentage of the population. So in Brazil, there are people living just as comfortably as you are. I grew up with 3 cars in a garage, traveling internationally with my parents. My mom and dad went to more countries than most people I know here in Norway combined. We both had an education. We both had access to the best things in life. Is that a lot of people? No, it's a smaller percentage. A lot of people are here in the middle class, and a lot of people are here in poverty. But that doesn't mean that everybody you meet from a country like Colombia or Argentina, the Philippines, Thailand, any of the countries that have a reputation for being poor, that everybody that lives there lives in poverty, or that they just have a little money because they lived in Norway and they took money back. No, I had a nice life from the start, from when I was a little child. As a matter of fact, now I'm worse off than I was when I was in Brazil. I have to take the bus every day. I live in a rented apartment. When I was in Brazil, I had my own place. I had a car. I didn't have to take the bus. So my life was at a higher level. My life was here when I was in Brazil. But here in Norway, I'm kind of here. I'm not poor, but I'm down here. So you need to understand that. First of all, because you need to understand that in the international context of English as a foreign language, when you talk to people, you don't want to sound like you're offending them or you're making them feel like, oh no, Norway's so rich, but your country is so poor, you probably have never seen this or that. And even if you're not saying things like that, people may take offense to it. I don't because I know who you are and how you are. But a random Brazilian who is in the upper middle class or rich, if you ask them, also in Brazil, you have money because your husband is from here and you took money back there, and they've been rich all their lives because their parents are lawyers or doctors and they're all the way up there, they will be like, no, I grew up rich, for instance. You know what I mean? So it's very important that you know the world is not what Enarcoan shows you only. And I'm dissing Enarcoan. Yes, I am. Because Enarcoan is one of the most watched channels in Norway. And they don't show you upper middle class families, rich families in Brazil. They only show you poverty, 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 criminality. And then maybe they show carnival. And then they show carnival only in Rio. And carnival happens all over the country. So it's very important that you, as Norwegian people that have learned English as a foreign language, that have learned international English, engelsk 1, engelsk 2, You need to have a global understanding of the world, right? The Philippines has English as a second language. They are in the outer circle of English. Why is that? Maybe you don't remember. I'll refresh your memory. At some point, the Philippines were a territory of the United States. So they are in the circle of English, and they have English as a second language, an official language, and Norway doesn't. Norway is in the expanding circle. So you need to know these things. You need to know the world as the world is, and not just what Enarcoan shows you. Enarcoan is going to get this video banned from my platforms. Today, I want you to write a short text, and I'm saying text, but if you're not inspired enough to write a text, don't be using ChatGPT. Don't be using ChatGPT. Don't be using AI of any form. Write a text. You yourself. If there are mistakes in it, so be it. You're going to write about the role of women in Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. We've been talking about The Handmaid's Tale. You watched the first episode, you read an excerpt. We discussed it in class yesterday. I want you to write the role of women in The Handmaid's Tale from what you have perceived. You're going to use as sources the excerpts that you read, the Quizlet that I gave you yesterday, your own opinions based off of what we discussed yesterday. What is the role of women in The Handmaid's Tale? I'm saying short text. I'm hoping you will write a 3-paragraph or 5-paragraph essay, but I know it is June 4th, and it is very possible that you will be handing in a paragraph. A paragraph has to have between 10 and 12 sentences. A paragraph has to have a good topic sentence. This should set you back 75, 100 words. But if you get carried away, write a 5-paragraph essay. But if it's ChatGPT, you're not going to be getting a good grade from me. I don't want to see no ChatGPT, right? I don't want to see any text written by ChatGPT or AI. I want you to write a text, even if it's short. If you send me a paragraph, that's better than sending me a 5-paragraph essay that was written by ChatGPT. We can tell. Trøndelag Fylke has a lot of filters, and every day IKT gets better and better and better. So it's easy to write ChatGPT. It's very easy for us to detect it too. Hand in something today, because that's why you're staying home. Remember the pyramids. Remember that just because you saw a documentary on TV2, let's go with TV2 or Viaplay, or on TikTok, some idiot that went to Brazil and only showed the worst part of it. There are areas in every country, they're as rich as Norway. So just remember the pyramid. Remember your view of the world has to be that of educated young women. You've seen the world from the perspective of a person of color, from the perspective of people from several different countries, from the interviews that I have showed you. I have shown you a different world, and I hope you remember that you take that with you. Even if you forget everything, but you remember that there are countries in the world that people think everyone's poor, but there are parts of that country where people are just as rich as in Norway. That you know that people of color should be referred to as either Black people, people of color, if they're Americans, African Americans, that the N word is not okay under any possibility, any circumstance. If you learn some things from me, I'm already happy. You've been a fantastic group this year, and I'm proud of you for the work you've done. And I don't know if we're going to have any classes whatsoever next week, but if we do, I'll make them special and try for us to have fun. Have a great day today.